What is the mission of the venture fund? What stage are you going to do? You and I started as angel investors together 14 years ago, 12
so we
years ago.
focus on early stage seed checks, first check-in. And, this fund is our fourth fund. We institutionalized more. In the beginning, it was high net worth individuals. And then now we're, going to kind of what Chamath was speaking about earlier, is aligning what we do with our higher purpose. And so now we're helping, institutions help people go to school, solving cancer and things like that. So every day that we get up in the morning, we're aligning what we do. Our mission is to chase the magically weird. We're looking for alpha in things when everybody is consensus investing and they're doing the same thing and talking about the same things. We're thinking 6 to 8 years in the future. When our fund 3, we invested in a company in the chip space, and we were thinking ahead about what's going to power AI and crypto. And now that everybody's, investing in the application layer, we're going into the next thing, which is like, what is that going to enable and what's coming down the road, and looking for founders that are thinking differently, that most other of my peers would look at it and say, that's crazy. I don't want to put any money into that. So that's what we focus on.
This is such a hard thing for people to get their heads around, the non-consensus bet, and why that's so important. I'm training, new associates at our firm, and they always are going to safety. So they're looking at a vertical, they're looking at a startup and saying, well, this makes the most sense. And then they look at the ones that don't make sense, but that are like intriguing. And they are like, yeah, I don't know if I want to place a bet on that because I haven't seen it. I'm like, that's where the gold is
Exactly.
the non-consensus bet. When you and I did Uber, it was a room of 21 people, 3 people decided to invest, 19 didn't.
It takes a vision of seeing the future and seeing how it plays out and believing in all the miracles that are going to happen. And getting in early is where all the alpha is, before the thing is defined as a category. So that's where I like to play, is I don't want it to even have a market name yet.
Such a great observation. Like when an associate or some research company says, oh, it's the on-demand economy, that's when you know
it's
that opportunity gone.
That's sailed. You can that's done. Where like all of my peers can go lose all their money in an ocean of dead bodies, because like I don't want to play there.
Yeah.
And you get a price advantage too, right? Like if you enter early before it's a defined category, you're taking on a lot of risk. And so, I'm getting deals anywhere from like 5 to 10 posts while all of my peers are playing in the 20 to 30 range. And so obviously
it's literally, you and I are the product of, our early bets and like what the lessons we learned. And like one of those lessons was to be in early. It's literally what I'm doing at Founder University now, is just trying to do 100.
And then under that economic umbrella, a little consolidation is not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm really interested in how all of these pieces move together. That's the one thing I get. But I'd like to say something else very narrowly about Wiz, which is Wiz does not do something that's necessarily unique, meaning there are other products in market, but they have done one thing better than everybody else. And I think it's really worth rewarding, which is they have incredible taste. So if you use it, and all my engineers at 8090 live inside of this regime, when I ask them, hey, we need to implement something, they all picked Wiz. And if you ask them why, and if you ask our sysadmin, why did we implement it? Not only is it good, but it is the most beautiful, it is the most intuitive, it's the most well integrated. And it's just an incredible lesson where even when other people do this other thing, you can build $32 billion of value by just doing that thing in a more coherent way.
I mean, design matters, right?
I think having taste matters.
Having a perspective,
it's so great that was rewarded.
Sayan, what do you think of what I'll call Lutnick's lighthouse customer approach? In other words, make this piece of software for the US government will become your first customer, the lighthouse that pulls in other customers.
For free.
And for free. So we get it for free. We help you set the standard, and then you get to use us as your reference client. Let's start with that. Thoughts on that, and then we'll get into M&A.
I think that the government has long relied on private industry to solve some of its biggest problems, and that's what sets us apart from other countries in the world. And so, you look at some of the best companies like SpaceX, Anduril, et cetera. We need more companies like this if we're going to compete. And so doing this absolutely makes sense. And it's just going to help the sales cycle to get that sort of stamp of approval that, our government is using that software.
Freeberg, your thoughts on Letnick's lighthouse strategy? Could it work?
Yeah, I think this is what makes it good to have, as we talked about earlier, folks with high executive function and business experience and acumen in key leadership positions in the government, so they know how to drive kind of better economic outcomes, negotiating the price of a contract down and saying, in this case, give it to us for free. One of the things Letnick said in the interview, which you didn't see in this clip, is that the government can actually accept for free contracts, these gratis contracts, and you don't need to go get approval to do it. So they can operate in the executive branch.
Oh, that makes total sense, right? You don't need an approval if it's gratis. That makes total.
That's right.
Yeah, that makes it
so
even
that's also
more
a big
brilliant.
unlock. Yeah.
Well, then I guess we can contrast this, Chamath, with Tim Waltz, potential VP candidate.
I have a real problem with this clip, Jason.
This was the most infuriating thing I've ever seen from a politician. I mean, Tim Waltz gets on stage, pulls out his stock app, and starts mocking the greatest American car company ever created, and that its stock is down. This is disgraziad.com to me. Play the clip, Nick.
I know some of you know this on the iPhone. They've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
Communist.
So, and if you own one, we're not blaming you. You can take dental floss and pull the Tesla thing off, and take a.
I mean, Chamath, you want to talk about this communist scumbag and what he did there?
No, I'm not going to say anything personal except to say that I think that it is incredibly lowbrow. At the end of the day, he represents the American people. He needs to be firmly on Team America.